Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence, we go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
All right, everybody. Today's date, February 27, 2025, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan. On the Frack We Got Here, we do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Do not just television sets yet, guys. Yes, it is Thursday night. Wednesday night, we just seem to have technical difficulties that we couldn't overcome. So we decided to go ahead and do a special edition of How the Frack Got Here this Thursday. So I hope you all want to still watch us. But first and foremost, we are a news podcast. We do our best to do the best research with websites that have integrity, journalism, awards, and achievements. We do not do sensational news like Fox News, The Blaze, The Daily Beast, OAN, News Media, whatever extreme left or extreme right you get your views from. We simply don't do that. We provide you with just the facts. At the same time, guys, we do try to watch your language, but let's be honest, this year has already led us to more than likely leading us to at least a few cuss words here and there. At the same time, guys, there may be things that might be shown that might have a graphical nature that might be too intense for younger viewers, so you have now been warned. Aside from that, welcome. So, before we do get started with this week's foolishness, or at least try to make sure we can make it to the broadcast this time. I guess we cussed out Zuckerberg too many times. We do need to remember a singer that has an iconic voice that has actually left us this week. Miss Roberta.
Her version of Killing Me Softly with his song, winning 2 Grammys in 1973.
When I first heard the words "killing me softly with his song," just the sound of those words together had such magic.
Her smooth vocal style, her poetic soulful ballads, her grace on the piano. One of the top recording artists of the 1970s. Roberta Flack was born outside Asheville, North Carolina in 1937. She was a classically trained pianist, so gifted, she received a full scholarship at 15 years old to Howard University.
First musical memory is Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. And that was a very strong memory for me, because that's where my Sunday school superintendent discovered that I had extra musical talent.
She became a school music teacher, and she would perform at night for pursuing her dream.
The transition from the classroom to the stage was a very easy, smooth for me personally. I rather think that the facility was the direct result of my being prepared. The first time ever I saw you.
Her version of First Time Ever I Saw Your Face becoming her first hit after Clint Eastwood asked to use it in his 1971 movie Play Misty for Me. It would go on to win a Grammy. She would win 4 Grammys in all, a 5th Grammy for Lifetime Achievement. Roberta Flack died today at the age of 88, surrounded by family after a battle with ALS.
And again, we do always want to give our flowers and respect to those who have left a indelible imprint on us, and Miss Flack definitely did that. So definitely rest in power to her. That being said, guys, well, we might as well get into this because, well, there's some good news and there's some bad news. The bad news is, unfortunately, Trump and his friends are now trying their hardest to push through a bill which has already passed through the House route, actually at the House. However, it's not the same bill as in the Senate. Now, for all those who are wondering, the Republicans may actually get their way. What I mean by that is, guys, and they're saying this ever so nicely, or words lack thereof, that in the current bill from the House, because Republicans do control the House and the Senate, the House bill for Republicans calls for $880 billion to be cut from basically Medicare. They're not saying Medicare, but they're saying that in the bill, $880 billion has to be found within human services. Gee, what's under human services? Medicare and Medicaid. So $880 billion must be cut from there. But they're not saying it because, again, a lot of folks are on Medicare and Medicaid. $880 billion with a B means that there's going to be a lot of people out there that are either going to be off Medicaid, have their benefits reduced, or for the better part, be paying more for whatever they may be needing. And again, not surprising, but in the bill, it doesn't say that. In the same sense where $230 billion is being cut from agriculture. Now, you would think, why $230 billion and why agriculture? Well, because SNAP and EBT, all those wonderful benefits that people do enjoy or do try to, survive on. Now $230 billion will be cut from there. So what does that mean? That basically means that a lot of people that were enjoying those benefits may not have them, may be significantly reduced. But yeah, again, voters will be affected. But you know what's not in the bill? The taxes, they said that they're no longer want to do taxes on overtime, no taxes on tips, and no tax on Social Security payments. All the BS that Trump talked about during his campaign, they said would be wonderful ideas. Neither of those things are either in the Senate bill or the House Representative bill. So it just goes to show you that this is what happens. And I cannot help but say this because at the same time, a white woman said it and a black woman said it, that Trump was basically the vehicle for Republicans to do what they've been wanting to do since Paul Ryan, which is go after the Medicare and Medicaid money. They've been itching to go after that. Why? Because their donor friends want that money. This is conservatism 101. They will wreck, they will strain, they will derive a program of resources, funding, and personnel, then overstack it with policies impossible policies, unreachable standards. And when it gets so bad, they want to turn around and say, you know what, the best thing now we can do from this is privatize it. Don't believe me? The state of Tennessee is doing that to Tennessee State University right now. They sat there and starved university, to which they still owe $500 million to in funding. Then they complained that TSU is not mismanaging funds after removing their board. So now the board was ran by the state, still not getting any better. And now they're trying to, again, privatize, as in taking the land holdings that this HBCU has, and they're trying to sell it off. Again, conservatism 101, or as I like to call it, white man's first attempt at taking over an HBCU as a corporate hostile takeover. So, what can be done about that? Well, Democrats are fighting the best they can. But keep in mind, there is a Republican majority in the House and a Republican majority in the Senate. The only thing that's saving that right now is that the bill in the Senate is not matching the bill in the House, which means that although the bill from the House was sent to the Senate, there may, and I said may, be a chance that they somehow might not see eye to eye. But I'll say it again, it's Republicans. Republicans do one thing very well. They toe the party line when the whip is cracked. At the same time, Trump is definitely cracking the whip to make sure that he gets this stuff through. Because again, he wants to have a legacy. However, his legacy so far is that he as a president, in less than 3 months, has destroyed 4 years of progress in less time than it takes for anybody to basically achieve a quarter of a semester. That's saying a lot. That's all I'm saying. But speaking of Trump wants to do something else because, he wants to go back to those days of stimulus checks that, he tried to take credit for, but it really was Biden, and he just happened to step in at that moment. It really was Biden's idea to get stimulus checks in. But anyway, that being said, Trump now wants to do a Dodge dividend checks because Dodge has been saving so much. But I'll let the story play first before we get to the bullshit.
The president says he's considering sending payments to taxpayers using money saved by the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Thank you for staying with us here at 5:30. I'm David Wade.
And I'm Tiffany Chan. Courtney is off. The idea, nicknamed the Doge dividend, could mean $5,000 for every household, but economists say the plan isn't likely to take shape.
Remember those COVID-era stimulus checks? Well, President Trump says he's considering another round of direct payments to taxpayers, this time using savings uncovered by the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOGE savings to American citizens and 20%
goes to paying down debt.
Some local economists are amused by the idea, like Questrom School of Business professor Jay Zagorski.
A brilliant political move. Right now, the Department of Government Efficiency is getting a lot of pushback from a large number of groups.
It wasn't hard for us to find critics of the so-called Doge dividends.
We don't need it now. I mean, he's trying to bribe people to vote liking him. And it's like, I don't like him. I'm not going to be bribed to like him. When we were in the pandemic, the people needed the money. Now, what's it for? If you're really saving anything, it's just going right back out. That's not any kind of movement, that's just a sidestep.
Professor Zagorski says he's skeptical Doge will be able to trim $2 trillion in government spending.
I'm just not sure the savings are there.
Adding that these Doge dividends could make inflation worse for Americans.
And if we start mailing out large checks to large numbers of people, wow, that's going to put a big boost in inflation because Trump's putting on tariffs. And tariff means more expensive goods and services.
Well, some taxpayers say if they got the checks.
Well, we're all human, we all take it. We complain about it all the same. What can fix our problems? Is it money? I honestly don't know.
Well, David, that
Yes, money can fix your problems. Because you know what? Just to be honest here, only rich people turn around and say money can't buy happiness. Really? Because the last time I checked, if I no longer had financial problems and they were a thing of the past, I'm the happiest SOB on the planet. Just saying. But anyway, getting back to Dodge dividends, here's the reason why The Economist is right. Number one, Trump's tax cuts led to inflation, and his tariffs also led to inflation. And again, if you were to give everybody $5,000, it's not going to change inflation. Inflation remains the same. It's just that now people have a lot more money, which means they're going to be spending, which because the tariffs and tax cuts in place, the economy doesn't improve, it stagnates or has no effect whatsoever on it. Now, here's the thing about Department of Government Efficiency, or I should say Musk and his somehow status of not being a government employee, but somehow being a government employee that was never appointed to his position and yet has unilateral power equal to the president to remove and hire and fire federal workers. Him and his department are claiming they saved $800 billion. Again, that's a lie. Everything that they say that they did turned out to be factually incorrect. The $880 billion that they swore up and down they saved was actually $8 million from a contract that was expiring at the end of the year. So again, if you think Doge got that wrong, how in the world are you going to think that they're going to come up with $5,000 for each individual to give out? And at the same time, do you really believe that's going to happen from a guy who can't even pay people who work for him? Trump has stiffed everybody that's ever worked for him. There's literally years and mountains of lawsuits from folks having to sue him to get paid. And you think that through Musk, he's going to just hand out $5,000 in dividend checks to everybody? I'm sorry. If you believe that, you were probably one of the ones that were voted for him. And again, you should feel stupid. But hey, here's one thing that Trump does believe in: gold. Because gold is what personifies him. His towers, his homes, his bathrooms. Well, now, guys, if for all you foreigners out there that ever wanted a green card but didn't want to go through the machine of immigration, did not want to go to the verification problems that have plagued our country, if you got $5 million, you, my friend, have a satisfied gold card that guarantees citizenship. And I wish I could make this up.
We're going to be doing something else that's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 billion, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. never been done before or anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks out? Do you want to say a couple of words about it? I think companies will pay to get people in. For instance, you today graduate from the Wharton School of Finance or Harvard or Stanford or any college, and nobody knows if you can even go to work for a company. So Apple and all these companies that want to get people to be working for them will be able to buy a card. And for the people that are number one in their class at top schools, I see that as one of the things. But generally speaking, it'll be people with money and people that create jobs, and they won't have to pay any tax on income outside of the United States, which they're not paying right now. They're not citizens, but they'll have to pay if they create jobs in the United States. They'll pay full taxes like everybody else. So you're getting big taxpayers, big job producers, and we'll be able to sell maybe 1 million of these cards, maybe more than that. And if you add up the numbers, they're pretty good. As an example, 1 million cards would be worth $5 trillion. $5 trillion. Wow. And if you sell 10 million of the cards, that's a total of $50 trillion. Well, we have 35 trillion in debt. That'd be nice. So we'll see. But it could be great. Maybe it will be fantastic. We have it all worked out from a legal standpoint. It's totally legal to do. Hasn't been done before. It's been done in many different forms. We give them away. Why should we give them away? We shouldn't give them away.
Would a Russian oligarch be eligible for a gold card?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I know some Russian oligarchs that are very nice people. It's possible. They're not quite as wealthy as they used to be. I think they can afford $5 million. No, a lot of people are going to want to be in this country, and they'll be able to work and provide jobs and build companies and pay taxes. About 2 weeks. The sale will start in about 3 weeks.
So here's the problem, and I mean this ever so slightly. Number one, his math is fucking off. 5 million, right? He just sat there and said, if every gold card is 5 million and they sell like 20 cards, where the fuck does $1 trillion come from? The last time I checked, if a gold card costs 5 million and you do 20 million, you do 20 of them, that just means that you just made $100 million. If little Timmy had 20 apples, and these 20 apples cost $5 million a piece, you're not over $1 trillion, you idiot. At the same time, how is it conservatives? And I mean this ever so slightly, because you got the health secretary, that deranged idiot RFK, his commerce secretary right there beside him. How is it that they're laughing? They are laughing. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't get. How in the entire frack, not one conservative is screaming their heads off? You know, all the conservatives talking about all these illegal immigrants that are coming through the border, these illegal immigrants that are killing off white women, these legal immigrants that are taking your jobs, the worst of the worst, right? Trump is saying, hey, here's American citizenship at $5 million a piece. Not one conservative spoke out. This is what I can't stand about Republicans. You are fucking hypocrites. You are. Because Trump just sat there and said, America is for sale. If you want to be an American citizen, hey, pay $5 million to get a gold card. Not a green card, a gold card. Why? Because Donald Trump has to have something. Donald Trump has to have this look at me personality. Look at me, Dad. I've got 5 million gold card for U.S. citizenship that people will love. Look at me. Look at me. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm cutting the budget. I'm raising tariffs. He is like a grown-ass man-child that never got the hug that Daddy should have gave him. Or the seed that his mom should have swallowed. But anyway, the thing I'm getting at here is it's crazy how on one hand, he wanted to attack the 14th Amendment to remove birthright citizenship for anybody born in the U.S., regardless of your parents being citizens or legal. He wanted to attack it. Now, all of a sudden, he now wants to privatize it. Privatize American citizenship at $5 million apiece. The man can't even do math right, and you're wanting him now he's turning around and saying, hey, all you rich folks, come to America at $5 million. We'll make you immediate citizens. And that's the crazy part I'm getting at. Republicans are silent. Not one Republican is sitting there saying, you know how messed up of an idea, how messed up of a bad idea this is? And yet they're quiet. All freaking quiet. Not Fox News, not OAN, not Newsmax, not News Media. They're not saying shit about this. But let an illegal immigrant get caught in anything. Oh, round the clock coverage. Trump just sat there and said American citizenship has a price, a high price. And yet you have people at our borders who have enough trouble getting in. You have people of our borders whose asylum and immigration processing is taking forever and a day because of a system that they refuse to fix. But hey, if you're rich and got 5 million, right this way. Gold card stamped approved, according to the idiot in the White House, at least one of the idiots in the White House. But again, that's the thing that nobody's getting. That this administration, and I'm not the only one that has said it. Many others beside me have been saying, this is what happens when you get Trump 2.0. When you get Trump 2.0, he has learned from his mistakes. He brings in folks. And on top of that, he has the unmitigated gall to go after the press, even more so to sit there and say, hey, if you're in our press briefings, that's going to change.
As you all know, for decades, a group of D.C.-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations. Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team. Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join. Fear not. But we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility. Just like we added a new media seat in this briefing room, legacy media outlets who have been here for years will still participate in the pool. But new voices are going to be welcomed in as well. As part of these changes, we will continue the rotation amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the President's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today. We will continue to rotate a print cooler who has the great responsibility of quickly transcribing the President's remarks and disseminating them to the rest of the world. And we will add outlets to the print pool rotation who have long been denied the privilege to partake in this experience, but are committed to covering this White House beat. We will continue to rotate a radio cooler and add other radio hosts who have been denied access, especially local radio hosts who serve as the heartbeat of our country. And we will add additional outlets and reporters who are well-suited to cover the news of the day and ask substantive questions of the President of the United States, depending on the news he is making on that given day. This administration is shaking up Washington in more ways than one. That's what we were elected to do. As I have said since the first day behind this podium, it's beyond time that the White House press operation reflects the media habits of the American people in 2025, not 1925. A select group of DC-based journalists should no longer have a monopoly over the privilege of press access at the White House. All journalists, outlets, and voices deserve a seat at this highly coveted table. So by deciding which outlets make up the limited press pool on a day-to-day basis, the White House will be restoring power back to the American people who President Trump was elected to serve.
Thanks.
All I can sit there and say, folks, is I'm going to ahead and place a bet now. Because number one, this is an attack on freedom of the press. The last time I checked at these White House press briefings, almost every popular and semi-popular news network is there. At the same time, those pool of reporters get to ask their questions. So what possibly could she be saying? Keep in mind, guys, that we said about 2 or 3 episodes ago that in the Pentagon, the mainstay news networks that actually have desks there have now been asked to go because, always drunk director of defense, Pete Hegseth, Drunk Pete, that's what we're going to call him. Drunk Pete decided, hey, you guys don't need to be here. Matter of fact, we're going to rotate you in. We're going to control the information that's in this building that you have access to. They've now just moved that to the White House. And the White House is going to say, well, there's outlets out there that aren't given the attention or the shine that they deserve. Like who? Because again, she doesn't go by names. But I'll tell you what's going to wind up happening. Welcome to the state media. All questions that are now going to be asked are going to be reminiscent of, have you ever been at a town hall for your job? Seriously. And I mean this with all sincerity. I have been to plenty of town halls where I was employed. And the questions that were given to the higher ups, to the C-level executives, even the CIO, the CEO, or the owner, were never hardball questions. Never. Some of them were just softballs. Oh, we're so glad that you came to our facility today. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you for your ultimate vision and scope for this company. I'm just so proud to be a part of it. You'll get ass kissers there too. But what you won't get is someone asking the questions that need to be asked. Someone questioning the press secretary, someone questioning the president, if it's up there, someone actually doing the job that reporters and journalists are supposed to do. They are supposed to deliver the news. They are also supposed to hold these politicians at their feet, hold them feet to the fire. Why? Because that's what they're there for. They're not there to fluff up somebody. And trust me, this is Trump as you see it. He wants a fluffer to basically make him feel good about himself. I try to dress it up the sentence best way I can, but I'm sorry, guys. I did say this podcast is going to be a little bit not for kids. But anyway, the thing I'm getting at here, guys, is for the simple fact of the matter, they're wanting to change how information gets out. At the same time, Trump wants a fluffer. He wants a fluffer press, a press that doesn't ask him hard questions, a press that asks him softball questions. Because every time he's in front of the press with people he doesn't like, oh, where are you from? I work for ABC News. That's fake news. That's fake news. CNN, you're fake news. MSNBC, you're fake news. Fox, I love Fox. Fox is great, even though he cussed out Fox because Fox actually picked him over at one time. The thing I'm getting at here is, guys, it's never a good idea to where the ongoing administration basically limits the press. Freedom of the press is one of the very few freedoms that is protected and at the same time should be defended. And again, if you don't like the way someone writes about you and you're a leader in a very effective and highly influential position, maybe you're the fucking problem. And at the same time, this is just Trump in 2016 all over again. Except this time, like I said, he's smarter. In 2016, he didn't really control the press. He had no choice. Now, with unilateral, almost unchecked power, him and his administration are doing things because, you know why? They're the ones run the asylum. At the same time, you have reporters that are going to have to be working harder because, trust me, the next time they have a press pool, I guarantee you'll see Fox, you'll see OAN, you'll see the Daily Beast, you'll see Newsmax, you'll see News Nation. You might even see some far-right Christian news networks in there. You might. And they may sprinkle in one or two what they call liberal media. You might see an ABC News. You might see ABC News. You might see NBC. You might see CBS. You might even see some independents like the young TYT. You might see them. But trust and believe the questions that are going to be asked from here on out are not going to be the questions that a president needs to face. And it's just going to help Trump up because, like I said, all Trump wants is a fluffer. Anyway, that being said, speaking of Trump, guys, he did actually make some other picks, especially this one, because like I said, it's Trump 2.0. He's now knowing who to pick for loyalty. And this guy scares me as the deputy director of the FBI.
President Trump has named a former Secret Service agent and conservative podcaster as the new deputy director of the FBI. Dan Bongino will serve as the FBI's second in command to the agency's director, Kash Patel. The 50-year-old is a former New York City police officer and previously had a show on Fox News. He unsuccessfully ran for Congress 3 times, twice in Maryland and once in Florida. Bongino's appointment, which does not require Senate confirmation, means there are now 2 people leading the agency who have no FBI experience. And FBI Director Kash Patel was sworn in Monday as the acting head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. In addition to the FBI, Patel will now oversee more than 5,500 ATF employees who are responsible for enforcing U.S. firearms laws and regulations. It's the first time an FBI director has also been in charge of the ATF.
And that's scary. Not because of the fact of Dan Bongino. I call him a dick because number one, the thing that should got a lot of people is he is a far right podcaster. Again, if you ever heard his show, he's kind of like Jim Rome, except more annoying. And apparently, he has all the answers. He's like Rush Limbaugh if Rush Limbaugh found lipo. I'll put it that way. At the same time, he was a Fox News host because again, Trump's happy place. And he did run for Congress and failed 3 times. Now he is basically the number 2 guy, or I should say that. I mean, for the deputy director, you basically run the FBI, and now this man can do it. And then Kash Patel, of all people, a more compromised person outside of Tulsi Gabbard, he has now run the FBI and the ATF, a Trump loyalist, because again, Trump wanted loyalty. He didn't want effective people. He wanted loyalty. And because he got loyalty, well, again, we're not going to get effectiveness. It's not going to be, well, Trump only picks the very best people. No, he has learned from his first time around. This time, he's going to pick people that are going to be loyal to him and fall on the sword and do whatever it is that he wants them to do. That's the reason why Kristi Noem, who is Director of Homeland Security, who literally has 0 experience, but will kiss Trump's ass so far up her nose. Let's just say she's going to be up there. I was trying to find a nice comparison, but it escaped me at the moment. Let's just say she doesn't have to put on lipstick. There we go. But anyway, he's going to pick nothing but loyalists, have no experience in positions in our government that can affect our way of life. Because trust me, a guy who runs the FBI and the ATF, again, is going to be a little bit cumbersome. And Mr. Dan didn't say whether or not he was dropping his podcast. So could you imagine him running the FBI and still doing his podcast? How does that not scream security issue? But anyway, again, with Trump, like we said, he only wants loyalists, even though the loyalists are not qualified. Take, for instance, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, a well-qualified individual, got let go for a guy who was retired. Yes, retired.
This morning, sweeping changes at the Pentagon. President Trump firing the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the country's highest-ranking military officer. Air Force General Charles Q. Brown Jr., only the second black general to serve as chairman, was serving a 4-year term that was set to expire in 2027. For months, Trump and his allies have vowed to immediately fire military leaders they deem too focused on diversity initiatives, often referring to Brown specifically.
You got to fire the chairman of the Chiefs. Any general that was involved, General Admiral, whatever was involved in any of the DEI woke. It's got to go.
Several other high-ranking Defense Department officials are also being fired. The Pentagon announcing it expects to terminate 5,400 employees beginning next week. Meanwhile, courts offering roadblocks and pathways to President Trump's plan to enact other sweeping government changes. One federal judge blocking some of Trump's executive orders to end federal support of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Another paving the way for him to gut USAID's workforce. The president Friday defending the downside.
It won't affect many people. It only affects the people that get caught stealing.
Many of those fires include veterans, and the White House has not provided any evidence of stealing. And at the Internal Revenue Service, at least 3,500 workers are expected to be laid off. Trump also saying his administration may merge the U.S. Postal Service and the Commerce Department.
I think it will operate a lot better than it has been over the years.
Trump also reassigning the acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The move comes after a source familiar with Trump's thinking said the president was getting angry that more people are not being deported. Meanwhile, Friday, Trump got into a heated exchange with the White House with Maine's Democratic Governor Janet Mills over her state's refusal to comply with the president's executive order seeking to ban transgender women from women's sports.
You better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding. Every state, good, I'll see you. I look forward to that. That should be a really easy one. And enjoy your life after government because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
The president expected to fiercely defend his actions of him and Elon Musk. Laura?
So what's crazy is, number one, shout out to the Maine governor because she sat there and said, pull up. If only California would do the same. Honestly, if California, New York, I know Texas and Florida aren't going to do it because, you know, Abbott and DeSantis just kissed Trump's ass. But imagine, if you will, if New York, California, let's also say Nevada, pretty much your most producing capita. Let's just say those 4 states all decided, no, we're not going to pay our taxes to the federal government anymore. Well, you're not going to need federal assistance. I think you need us more than we need you. I love the fact that it's like, why is it only the governor from Maine is just saying the same thing we all say? Although she said it the nice way, I'll see you in court. Of course, Trump is no stranger to court. He stays in court most of the doggone time anyway. But I digress. Getting back to the fact that he literally, CQ Brown, a man who is literally, I mean, here's the thing about CQ Brown Jr. This man has over 40 years. He is well qualified to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Now, usually with the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, it's like a presidential term. They usually change out every 4 years. Anyway, he was about to be out at the end of this year. So, that being said, Trump wanted to get rid of him because Drunk Pete had to sit there and say, well, you got to get rid of the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff. Really? From a guy who served in the National Guard and barely saw any wartime? You're going to say that a man who literally has more than double the amount of experience you do, and you're going to say we need to get rid of him? It's crazy. And at the same time, you picked up a retired individual to basically replace him. Wow. And I mean, retired. And even with his experience, no offense, I'm not trying to knock anybody that's never served in the armed forces, but Lieutenant Dan Cain compared to Mr. Brown, sir, there is a wide discrepancy there. But again, Drunk Pete doing the best thing he knows how. But as you saw with the cuts going across the board, guys, where it affects and mergers, this is all not Trump. This is all Musk and his dodge. But here's the one thing I do want to point out. With everything that's going on, I only wondered, how y'all white people doing? How are you Latinos and black people and some black people? Because some black people did vote for Trump. A large number of white people, especially you female voters, voted for Trump. A large number of you Latinos, y'all voted for Trump. And other people of color. I always wondered, how is it now that we're in a Republican-controlled Congress with all these things happening, How do you feel? Because Republicans, like Trump, are trying to do victory laps, and they're having town halls. You can only imagine how they're going.
My concern right now, and I think I speak for a lot of Americans, is Trump
How can you be represented by you if you don't have a voice in Congress?
I'm a registered Republican voter, retired active Army officer. How can you tell me that Doge, with some college quiz kids from a computer terminal in Washington, D.C., without even getting out into the field, after about a week or maybe two, has determined that it's okay to cut veterans' benefits?
When are you going to wrest control as the Congress back from the executive and stop hurting your constituents?
Are you willing to use your subpoena power to say, Trump, Musk, come in here, stand in front of Congress and answer some hard questions?
When will you stand up to them and say that is enough?
We could have gone on and on. That was just a sampling of what's happening. You know what? We should go on and on. Let me do some more. This is sound from Wisconsin.
I strongly want to see.
We're going to pull up more. There's more of that. And the point is, you don't have to look very far. Here it is. Here's what's happening in Wisconsin.
President Trump has issued a lot of executive orders. I think by and large, this is moving very quickly compared to other administrations, and I think across the board, he's done some very good things. I think he's gotten rid of birthright citizenship.
Boos from Republicans for Republicans.
Yes, boos. Because who in the world thought it was a good idea? Hey, Republicans, we're doing victory laps. Go do town halls to your constituents and receive showers of adulations and congratulations for the 100 days that you've already had in the office. They go home and they get berated. How dare you guys don't stand up to Trump? You just agree with him. Why don't you use your power? We voted for you. And it amazes me so, ladies and gentlemen. Amazes me that now people see it. We tried to warn you during the election. We tried to sit there and tell you that Madam Vice President was a much better choice, just like we tried to tell you in 2016 that Hillary was a much better choice. But you guys decided to, FA and FO. And now at these town halls, these Republicans are getting berated so bad that now they have decided that maybe town halls are not such a great idea, because nobody wants to get told you're crappy at your job that we sent you there. But all I can say to you people is y'all voted for them. You voted for Republicans because you believe Trump that said he can get the price of groceries down. You believe Trump when he sat there and said he can get energy down. You believe Trump when he sat there and said that he can turn around and make America great again. And you fell for it twice. So why? Why the outrage now, Republican voters? Why the outrage now? This is exactly what you got. You voted for this. You voted for the apocalypse. Now you're mad that you're still here after the rapture? With the rest of us? I'm just saying, you can't get mad because you get guy there looks like Foggle and Leghorn. Well, we did very well under Trump. I mean, he was able to get rid of birthright citizenship. No, he didn't. Well, he got taxed. Well, you got more money in your pocket. No, we don't. Well, the price of eggs have gone down. The hell it did. It is amazing that Republicans have the unmitigated gall to host town halls where folks are now worse off than they were last year. And now you're going to sit there and complain. I'm sorry, that's a little too late for me. Even more so now, it's just fun to watch. Because the rest of us, don't blame me. I voted for the black woman. So again, Republicans starting and stopping town halls is by far the most funniest comical thing that we can find short of our feel-good segment. Because it's like you went home to do what? Be told that you did a good job, except you just rolled over, showed your belly, and let Trump do whatever he wanted to do to you? Why should we congratulate you for that? And I keep telling folks, it always matters who you send to be your voice in Congress. It matters. And just like November of last year, a lot of you guys decided you'd rather have red than blue. Well, go ahead and eat that pile of shit because there's still more coming, and this is just the first 100 days. But that also being said, guys, we need to talk about the New York Mayor, Eric Adams, because he also got a present from Trump. Actually, 2 presents.
A federal judge has indefinitely adjourned the criminal trial of Eric Adams. In the ruling, the judge writes, in light of the government's motion and the representation of the parties during the conference, it is clear that the trial in this matter will not go forward. Let's bring in our legal analyst and attorney Brian Buckmark.
Yes, the trial that Eric Adams had for bribery and improper use during campaign funds. We said it before and we said it again, that the simple fact of the matter is that man went to Trump. One meeting with Trump, 48 hours later, the Department of Justice was instructed to drop all charges or inquiries into Mayor Eric Adams, which again, the governor himself, Katie Hochul, was looking into this and has also made her ruling. Here's President number 2.
After careful consideration, I have determined that I will not commence removal proceedings at this time. My strong belief is that the will of the voters and the supremacy and sanctity of democratic elections preclude me from any other action. I cannot deny the people of this great city the power to make this decision for themselves. And to those who conclude that this decision is due to pressure, many groups or individuals, I say this. You do not know me. Constant pressure. That's what I deal with all day long. And it's absolutely no bearing on any decisions I make. New York is facing a grave threat from Washington. The Trump administration has said it's already trying to use the legal jeopardy facing our mayor as leverage to squeeze and punish our city. I'm proposing legislation to create a special inspector general for New York City affairs within the office of the state inspector general. The state inspector general will be able to direct the New York City Department of Investigations. And the mayor will only be able to remove the Department of Investigations commissioner with the approval of the state inspector general. It is not up to me to tell them to leave. It is up to an individual if they want to resign the office to which they've been elected. I am working to put in safeguards to restore the trust that is necessary to get this city back focused out of all this controversy and get people in New York City what they want. They just want normalcy again. And that's what I'm fighting to.
Oh, Governor. How else can we say this? Because you had the ability, regardless of the Department of Justice, you had the ability to have the investigation opened up into Mayor Eric Adams and these allegations. You had the ability to continue it, even though the Department of Justice dropped their case. You have the ability to remove said mayor if said evidence is found. But what you just did was the greatest backwalk this company has ever seen since the last time a Republican got caught with a gay person. You don't want to do anything. And people are well, you don't know me. We kind of got an idea. You don't want to step into any more political doo-doo than you've already stepped into. So what are you doing? You are wiping yourself off. You are washing your hands clean. And then you're trying to tell us, hey, we're going to put in safeguards to make sure something that may have happened that we're not going to look into because they've already said they made their minds up about it, but I don't want to sit there and lose my political capital, but we're going to put this in place for the next one. But I still get to be governor. It amazes me. And you wonder why New Yorkers act the way they act. I'm not a New Yorker, nor am I a native or anything else, but I can only imagine how pissed off they are. How they feel about Eric Adams, how they now feel about the governor, because they feel like, well, we elected you to do what we needed you to do. And it sounds like you didn't do shit. it sounds like you didn't do shit. But speaking of things that don't do shit, here's the thing I never thought I would understand. Elon Musk, who is an idiot, by the way, his ass is now in the White House. And if you have yet to see the first cabinet meeting where, and I'm just gonna paint this scene before I play it. Imagine that idiot Musk is talking, and the most powerful person in the room is on a cell phone. I cannot make this up.
Thanks, Mr. President. I just want to myself a couple text support here. This is actually that is almost a literal description of the work that Doge is doing. Is helping fix the government computer systems. Many of these systems are extremely old. They don't communicate. There are a lot of mistakes in the systems. The software doesn't work. So we are actually cyclical. It's ironic, but it's true. The overall goal here with the Doge is to help address the enormous deficit. We cannot sustain in a country $2 trillion deficit. The interest rates, just the interest on the national debt, now exceeds the Defense Department spending. We spend a lot on the Defense Department, but we're spending like over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become bankrupt. It's not an optional thing, it is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here. And taking a lot of flack, getting a lot of debt threats, by the way. I like that come on. But if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. That's why it has to be done. I'm confident at this point. I'm not going to put it in my wouldn't get ahead. That we can actually find $1 trillion in savings. That would be roughly 15% of the $7 trillion budget. And obviously, it's going to be done with the support of everyone in this room. And I'd like to thank you for your support. Thank you very much. This can only be done with your support. So this is really Doge's support function for the president and for the agency departments to help achieve those savings. To effectively find 15% in reduction in fraud and waste. And we bring the receipts. So people say, like, what's this real? Just go to Doge.gov. We line item by line item. We specify each item. So, and I should say, we'll make mistakes. We won't be perfect. But when we make mistakes, we'll fix it very quickly. So, for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very quickly was Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately. And then we started corruption. But we do need to move quickly if we're to achieve a $1 trillion deficit reduction in financial year 2026. It requires saving $4 billion per day every day from now through the end of this program. But we can do it, and we're able to do it.
So what's crazy about this, guys, is that for the fact of the matter, he really does believe what he says. He really does believe what he says. That, oh, well, I'm tech support. I'm sorry. If Elon Musk is tech support, I am a well-known stripper. If you believe Elon Musk can solve anything, ignore the fact that Teslas have the worst crash rating really since any automaker. Because every Tesla's either crashed into something, somebody, or caught fire. They've had too many labor issues at Tesla factories, including racism and discrimination. At the same time, this is a guy who thinks he's smart, but really he's effing stupid. He's a rich guy. Rich guys always think they're smart because they're validated by their wealth. Elon Musk is a guy that should not be in any type of cabinet meeting. Even more so, let's look at the fact of imagery here. This is the president's first cabinet meeting, and Elon Musk is standing up, and all eyes are on him, including the would-be president down at the corner at the end of the table, looking like an excited kid at a magic show. Because no one doesn't see what the problem is here. It's the president's cabinet meeting, And the guy who is talking is the guy who is literally the co-president that was never appointed, that he never got voted on, yet has unilateral power in the government, not really a government employee, but a special government employee, at the same time, still allowed to run his businesses, even though he has contracts with the government for Tesla and Starlink. How? And again, this is the point I'm getting at here, guys, that when it comes down to it, Elon Musk is not smart, but neither is Trump. But they managed to fleece a whole lot of people in thinking, yes, you are. So I'm sorry, guys. And also with Doge, who claims that they saved already over $880 billion, they didn't. They didn't even, it really the only savings they got was $8 million for a contract that was going to wind up to be terminated at the end of 2025. Realistically, Doge has not saved anything, but they have led to the firing of several thousand workers, including an email we're going to get to very soon, because trust me, the email that we're going to be talking about screams volumes. But Trump is mad because, well, enough people aren't getting deported. So what does he ask ICE to do? Look for children.
And Catherine, a source tells ABC News the Trump administration is directing ICE to track down unaccompanied migrant children in the U.S. A government data shows since 2019 more than 600,000 migrant children have crossed the U.S.-Mexico border without a parent or legal guardian. So what do we know at this point about where these kids and teens are and the Trump administration's goal here?
Well, it's a good question, and essentially it is what they've said without really many of the details, that they're directing ICE to track down these unaccompanied migrant children in the United States, and of course it's going to bring about more conversations that we experienced during the first Trump administration of family separation and how they go about really these policies. Of course, a lot of this is being directed out of the White House, specifically Stephen Miller really leading up this task and directing a lot of what DHS is doing, but still more details, of course, to come out of the Trump administration and what exactly they're doing, how exactly ICE is going about this in terms of tracking down these children. Still a lot of unanswered questions because they work to essentially, in their words, be aggressive on immigration.
Now, what's crazy is that this is the same group of people that, because Trump had a promise out there, that promise was, we are going to do the largest deportation in American history, because, you know, he ran the whole thing of we need to get rid of illegal immigrants. Now, for all those that need a refresher, remember the last time he said something like this, and yet we got this scenario?
Haunting new images from inside those migrant detention centers, these drawn by children separated from their parents. They show people behind bars and in cages. This is President Trump has a message for migrants. He says, quote, if they are unhappy with the conditions, just tell them not to come. Here's ABC's White House correspondent, Tara Palmieri.
Tonight, President Trump on the defensive after disturbing images reveal what the government calls dangerous conditions at migrant detention centers. Adults crammed in standing room only cells for up to a week. People sleeping on overcrowded floors. Children wrapped in emergency foil blankets. The president's message to them tonight: if illegal immigrants aren't happy, just tell them not to come. All problems solved. He's also lashing out at Congress members who sounded the alarm.
These women were being told by CBP officers to drink out of the toilet. This is CBP on their best behavior.
Tonight, the president tweeting, no matter how good things actually look, even if perfect, the Democrat visitors will act shocked and aghast. But now, a new glimpse of the conditions in those detention centers through the eyes of children. The American Academy of Pediatrics releasing these pictures from migrant children, asked to draw what it was like in the detention center. One picture after another of little faces behind bars.
And Tara Palmieri.
Now, again, that video, this video is about almost 2016, almost 9 years old. That was the scenario that Trump had put out. That, hey, I got no problem separating kids. I've got no problem separating kids from families. I've got no problem using detention centers. And here's the crazy part. He's now getting ready to do it again. Again. And again, how is it that we're seeing history repeat itself, and at the same time, not one conservative or you pro-life people, not a word among you guys. But here's also why I say Musk is also a walking conflict of interest, because you guys remember, it's hard not to think about plane crashes, especially with what has happened in the most recent weeks with air collisions and things of that nature, that the FAA has been gutted and air traffic controllers have been fired. Well, Elon Musk has an idea. He wants, and the thing about it is, his Starlink company is now about to get an FAA contract. I'm going to say this as plainly and as clearly as I can. How is it that this man, who is a walking conflict of interest, works for the government, still retains ownership of his businesses that have government contracts, gutted the FAA, claimed DEI by the president was the problem for the crashes, and now the Starlink company, his company, has gotten an FAA contract, and now he's a conflict of interest? I'm sorry, Musk has always been a conflict of interest because he is basically out for himself. You gotta remember, the guy spent $400 billion to buy Twitter, and he's not making profit off of that. So what happens next? He's basically following the Trump playbook. He is fleecing his ass off. At the same time, nobody else doesn't seem to suspect or say anything. It is amazing to me how much of a conflict of interest he is in. At the same time, for lack of better words, nobody just seems to care. Really? What'd you say at home gaming? Didn't Obama put kids in cages, detaining migrant children in chain link enclosures started under the Obama administration, particularly under the 2014 surge of becoming minors crossing the border? That, sir, is a little bit misconstrued. Obama did have more deportations than Trump. This is true. However, migrant children were actually left in the company of Human and Health Services. They were not left with immigration, with ICE customs and with ICE. They're not left with ICE. Mainly put because they would have had a field day. And I say this very honestly. You thought Trump caught hell for pictures of kids being put in cages. Imagine if President Obama was in office and that same view was during his administration. Let me tell you something. Fox News would have a fucking field day with this. They would sit there and say that our president is too extreme. They would sit there and say that these kids deserve more. Trust me, they would. It's also the reason why I can say with 100% certainty that unaccompanied minors were not held by customs as far as in their office, as far as in their detention facilities. They were actually left in the care of Health and Human Services. So, just to answer your question. But like I said, imagine if the same thing happened under a black man's administration. They would lose their fucking mind. But again, with Trump, hey, these kids should never cross the border. Their parents knew better. They should have stayed where they were. It is amazing that that's the mindset of far right and pro-life people, which tells you hypocritical as shit. But a few more things, guys, before we wrap this up. I'm gonna stick with Musk for a second, because Musk turned around and he did this little number to where I keep on saying, anytime I hear shit like this, micromanagement ticks me off. And I'll tell you why. But I'll address that comment momentarily. But let me tell you why Musk micromanagement ticks me off. Because he did this.
From a looming deadline, President Trump is defending an ultimatum from billionaire Elon Musk aimed at slashing the federal bureaucracy.
There was a lot of genius in sending it.
But there are also new signs of a potential power struggle within the administration over how to carry out the president's campaign promise to downsize the government. Musk, who heads the administration's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, posted on X over the weekend that federal workers needed to explain what they got done this week, saying he was acting on the president's instruction, adding failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. Then the Office of Personnel Management sent an email to more than 2 million federal workers titled, "What did you do last week?" It asked those workers to respond by midnight tonight with 5 bullet points detailing what they accomplished.
What he's doing is saying, are you actually working? And then if you don't answer, like you're sort of semi-fired or you're fired, if people don't respond, it's very possible that there is no such person or they're not working.
But late today, the Trump administration changed course, telling heads of federal agencies responding was voluntary and that a non-response to the email does not equate to a resignation. Still, 3 sources with knowledge of the process tell NBC News the bullet points from those who do respond will be fed into an advanced AI system to determine whether someone's work is mission critical or not. There have been growing confusion after some agency heads, including Trump's cabinet picks, issued conflicting guidance to workers. Some agencies, including the State, Justice, and Defense Departments, told employees either to delay responding or not respond at all. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard writing, given the inherently sensitive and classified nature of our work, employees should not respond. Today, Trump downplayed any conflict.
And that was done in a friendly manner. Only things such as perhaps Marco at State Department where they have very confidential things, or the FBI where they're working on confidential things. And they don't mean that in any way combatively with Elon.
Amid mounting protests, including this upside-down flag at Yosemite National Park, the president and Musk keep slashing the size of the federal workforce. Today, laying off more than 1,600 foreign aid workers at USAID. In Missouri, Liv Alvarado is among thousands of workers let go from the IRS.
The fact that there's going to be even less workers here now, stuff's going to take even longer, and these were real people, real jobs.
And Gabe joining us, Gabe Elon.
So again, it is amazing to me that a lot of people are saying, well, you built under micromanagement. Okay, yes, micromanagement doesn't work. Micromanagement is the worst type of management policy you could have out there. But you have a guy who's turning around and emailing 2 million federal workers, let me know 5 things that you've done today. If you don't respond, you're fired. How is it that you get 3 different answers? Because this is your job. And for a lot of people, you are 1 or 2 paychecks away from poverty or being out in the street. Your job is important, especially if you have kids, especially if you have a family. So again, it's like, where is the literal standing in this? Because this is Musk. Musk treats his companies the same way he is treating the government. He's bullying. He's cutting things that don't need to be cut. He's basically stuffing his own pockets, and at the same time has no remorse for it. Whereas Trump, you're the president. This is your guy. Well, it just might be a joke. It might be a joke. Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, well, that might be sensitive. Kash Patel. Don't answer it. 3 freaking different answers. And at the same time, you're in the middle of it. You are the ping pong ball between 3 idiots because they're going to use AI. And I'm sorry, this is just me with AI. And I'm going to be honest about AI. I don't trust it, especially when you start putting AI in the hands of decision-making over people's jobs, because AI is cold logic. It will always go by cold logic. So in the event that, hey, they're going to determine based on your answers whether or not a system is based on your answers, whether or not it's going to allow you to retain a job or not retain a job. Even though the intrapersonal way of doing that, tell me 5 things you've done at work today. What the fuck? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. But again, it's Musk in a position he shouldn't be in that is unchecked because the president is too busy being on his phone. But what do you say? That's because Trump's administration's zero tolerance policy, or lack thereof. I mean, Trump says he has a zero tolerance policy. This is the same guy that says Trump is basically the reason why we need to have age limits and term limits in the White House. We do. Because earlier in this podcast, I don't know if you caught it or not, I turned around and sat there and we turned around and covered a story where he wants to sell $5 million a piece gold cards that are citizenship cards. So if you're not a U.S. citizen, but you got $5 million lying around, he wants to sell you a gold U.S. citizenship card. Instant American status. Bypassing the entire immigration system. That's the part I'm getting at. where his zero tolerance policy, his board czar, which we did cover, sat there and said, what would happen if, what's the only way that you can keep people from jumping the border? The guy said, separate their families, even if they have status. He was talking about U.S. citizenship status, which again scared everybody. Because again, if you are an immigrant that did get status, that did get USS, that did become a U.S. citizen and did get a green card, imagine that your family members who either may be illegal or maybe in the process of citizenship may get snatched away because, well, an overall paranoia of white man fear has basically pushed a group of people who simply want a better life, who has actually helped us in the economy because immigrants have actually paid taxes, which is another myth that needs to be debunked. Well, immigrants don't pay taxes. Yes, they do. They've been paying taxes since 2020. They've been paying taxes since it was documented back in 2021. But going back to Trump's administration's zero tolerance policy, it's just Swiss cheese. He picks and chooses, just like ICE. ICE wants to go after every person of color. Are they going after any Russians, Polish people, anybody besides non-POCs? Because that's all I see them round up. But again, it's him filling his campaign promise because he turned around and told people we are going to start deporting folks. And that's what he's trying to do. But the last thing we'll get to, guys, is, like I said, the freedom of the press is being attacked. And I say this because just a day ago, Joy Reid on The Readout on MSNBC had her last show. Why? Because MSNBC is canceled her show, I should say. Now, Joy Reid, again, wonderful journalist, brilliant writer, has no problem telling it like it is. So, with that being said, they decided, because the network has been changing, which means a lot of shows are being shipped to a different network because the network was purchased by a new CEO. That CEO was at a Trump fundraising event. So connect the dots here. Joy Reid, unfortunately, was let go. Her show was canceled, but she's not done. At the same time, Lester Holt, a mainstay on MSNBC, is stepping down from NBC Nightly News after 10 years. He will still be with NBC, but he will just be hosting Dateline. Again, a guy who really and truly set the standard as far as in the ways of Walter Cronkite, Barbara Walters. I can keep going down the line. Amazing journalist. But again, he decided to step down. Also on Good Morning America, Michael Strahan and Robin Roberts are leaving. And I can't help, but this was all in the matter of 48 hours. And I'm sorry, guys, this bothers me because we know that networks are changing, because networks, major publications are now in the hands of the rich. And just like old boy, former Amazon guy, he now owns the New York Post. And he sat there and said, we are going to focus on real life issues and things that affect people, which means that we're not going to talk and we're not going to criticize the president or his administration anymore. And I keep on saying this is like the unblackening, because we're seeing less people of color on our television stations and on our news networks that are actually doing what we want them to do. Question the status quo and hold their feet to the fire. We're seeing Trump already take care of his press pool because he wants to remove those that don't agree with him. Because like I said at the beginning of this podcast, Trump wants a fluffer. That's all he wants. He doesn't want tough questions. So again, at the same time, guys, the thing that is happening with the press pool, the things that is happening with the press being removed out of the Pentagon, the things that are now happening in our networks, that people of color are being removed. I can't help but wonder, is it because networks and people and rich folks don't want to piss off the hand of the king, which in this case, Trump considers himself a king, more like a dictator, but it just makes you wonder, do they want to remove those that would rock the boat simply because they're worried about the bag? I'm just pointing that out. What'd you say, ATS Home Gaming? Real quick before I go, isn't that just common sense? I'm not the biggest Elon fan, but if you're a federal worker getting paid with taxpayer dollars and you can't name 5 things you accomplished all week, should you even be there? That's like a teacher being asked what they taught that week and having no answer, or any other job that you're expected to actually produce results. It would be no problem. But here's the problem. Elon is in a position to where he should not be able to do that. Now, your boss, we all have bosses. This is true. We all have bosses that, go over our progress reports, go over our projects or whatever duties we have. That's fine. But what he's doing is a mass email and saying, answer this or be fired. That's the problem. Elon is not in the position, or should not be in the position, or should not be empowered to do exactly that. Because that's a supervisor or that's a manager. That's where they're supposed to step in, and they're supposed to go from there. But honestly, Elon doing this is where the problem is with him. He's not a part of the government, but he is, and he's still a walking conflict of interest, then he should not have the ability to influence another federal worker's job or lifestyle, simply put, because no one has checked him, is what we're getting at. But thanks for your question. But thanks for pointing that out, though. Really, thank you for watching. I know you said you had to go, but again, thanks for watching, man. Hope you catch the next couple of podcasts we do. But thanks for the comment. But at the same time, guys, this is the problem with America right now. America is for sale. America at this point, between Trump and Musk and the Republican administration, as we know it, it is now for sale. Even more so that I'm going to throw this really quick out there before we get to our feel-good segment, because this bothered me. We all know that, discrimination in the workplace happens, but this is a weird case. And I'm hoping the Supreme Court doesn't look at this. But this woman right here, Miss Ames, says that she was denied a promotion because 2 other candidates who were gay, and according to her, were less qualified for positions because her supervisor was also gay, and decided to pick those 2 individuals over her. Now, her case has been going through the lower courts and is actually may or may not get picked up by the Supreme Court. Now, here's the craziest thing about this. This is a straight woman sitting there saying she's been discriminated against because her supervisor was gay, and so far picked 2 other individuals over her that she believes are less qualified because they also are gay. So she's now claiming reverse discrimination. I have a problem with reverse discrimination, and this is going to sound mean, but, hey, you're watching this. I already told you I was going to give you my warning about this. It is amazing to me that white people, I call certain white people napkins because, well, there's too many of them and they always find something messy to get themselves into. That being said, it is amazing to me that a white woman is going to claim discrimination because she believes that the circumstances outside of her led to her not being promoted, where Black women and other people of color have been dealing with this since, well, the 20s, 10s actually, because we have sat there and said it even not too long ago, where 4 Chinese students single-handedly destroyed the college acceptance of affirmative action. You guys don't remember, this was just 3 years ago. 4 Asian students decided to sue Harvard University because they sat there and said they were being discriminated against from being in an Ivy League school. That case got taken up by the Supreme Court, a conservative-leaning Supreme Court. You know what that conservative Supreme Court leaning court did? They turned around and said, you know what? You're right. Let's remove the college acceptance of affirmative action. They removed it. What happened with that? Oh, it's college acceptance. It shouldn't affect anybody. Wrong. It led to the end of diversity, equity, and inclusion, otherwise DEI, because DEI became a major thing as far as creating jobs, as far as creating roles in companies, as far as moving up people of color that would have not had the same chance as a regular, straight, white person. And what happened? Well, those four students still didn't get into Harvard, But every company that had DEI, short of those holding the line, removed their positions, removed people that had said positions, and tried to include DEI. But because DEI was misunderstood, still is misunderstood, a lot of protests happened. Happened with Pepsi, happened with Coke, happened with John Deere, Harley Davidson, Coors, or was it Busch? One of those beers that tastes like piss water. But I just remember, because anytime DEI was included, there was always a group of napkins that didn't understand, got angry, and they protested. And what happened? Those companies caved. They dropped the DEI, and napkins felt empowered. So I'm sorry, I don't feel bad, and I hope, and I keep on saying this, guys, I hope the Supreme Court doesn't take that case, because imagine the the anger from this, because people have been sitting there saying we've been discriminated against, that we've had to do more. We had to do twice as much to get half of what people got, do twice as much to get half the notification, do twice as much to get to what a normal white person would get to that has next to nothing in obstacles. Yet a white woman believes that a gay person was only ahead of her, that she deems less qualified because a gay supervisor gave them the rub. If that doesn't sound like white privilege, I don't know what does. But anyway, we're going to move on to our Feel Good segment, guys, because usually on How the Frack We Got Here, we do cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes make use of faith in humanity. But hey, today is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday, the weekend. We want to leave you guys out with some good vibrations, and I hope to do that with this next clip of a man who is 16 years old, and influencing the fashion industry.
Now, with our Black History Month celebration of a generation rising, highlighting incredible young creators and innovators, like a 16-year-old fashion designer from Detroit creating motivational clothing to uplift and inspire. Take a look. Langston Howard loved fashion for as long as he can remember.
My very first sketch was my denim jacket with a lion on the back. That was like my very first idea, and then from there it just got better.
And at just 12 years old, Langston decided to take his passion to the next level.
I went on YouTube, I searched up a bunch of videos on how to start, design, and run your own brand.
My reaction when Langston told me he started a brand, it was, what? My goodness, what have you been working on? He showed me the website, the items that he created. There's still pieces of his business that I'm just in awe of, that he figured out how to do this on his own.
Langston naming the brand The Top for an important reason.
I feel like the top is a great explanation of where you would like to reach and kind of like your end goal. At the end of the day, we all want to succeed, whether it be mentally, physically, or financially.
In 2023, Langston's line was featured in New York Fashion Week when he was just 14 years old.
Our main outfit is based off the Black Panthers, what they wore, their other outfits.
When I saw it on the model, walking the runway, it was fantastic. It was like, I made that, and now it's on the runway. It motivated me to go home and get right back to work.
And boy, he's been at work. Langston Howard joins us now with some of his designs. That was impressive, man. I mean, unbelievable. And watch you at 12, 14 years old, Fashion Week, you're 16 now. You've been inspiring people for a long time with your work, with your designs. But take us through, talk about the inspirational messages that you put on your designs.
So with all my garments, I always try to let the storyteller really put an important message on it. And with this garment, I not only incorporate a message on the inside of the jacket, but also on the side of the jacket right here where it says the pursuit. Strive to achieve success in all aspects of your life, and to strive to achieve mental, physical, and financial success. And that's really what the brand is about.
Well, the brand is kicking butt. Let's go right here. Check out this leather, man. What about these leather looks? Robert Robertson sitting over there. We can see it over here a few minutes ago. Check this out.
So a few years ago, I participated in New York Fashion Week through the Boys and Girls Club, and I designed two outfits that really resonated with who I am as a person. And I wanted to tell a story about the Black Panthers from the 1960s, and that's where this look came from. But also, I am from Detroit, Michigan. A lot of people don't know that we are known for techno music. So I designed a full outfit designed and based off the techno music in Detroit.
Man, All right. Thank you. Tell us about celebrities who are now rocking your brand.
So I've had celebrities like Big Sean and Babyface right here. But I'd love to add you to the list. So what I did was that I created a fully custom hoodie for you based off of one of your favorite quotes, which is "If not now, then when." And I did this because it really resonated with me as a person. And
I'm glad you're here, man. Come on. Thank you. I'm so excited to meet you. I'm so excited for your story. And Pac Sun, you heard of Pac Sun? Well, they want to help you, right? Because they're excited about what you're doing too, and how you're inspiring people, and all the hard work that you're doing. So they got a little gift for you, $10,000. That's where you continue to grow your life, man. How do you feel about that? Great. I can really start to shift and start doing more runway with. This is amazing. When you I like that too. All right. Langston. Pleasure, man. You can make my outfits anytime you want. I'm going to rock this. I promise. Thank you. All right. And you at home. Check out my guy, Langston.
And again, like I said, I love to see, and for all those that haven't realized, I am pro-black. I mean, it ain't just because Black History Month is going to be ending. It's going to be ending in a day or two. But we Black 365 days. We excel. We promote. We will praise individuals because we don't see a lot of that. And we need to be doing a lot more of that. We need to be showing off our brothers and sisters and our children. We need to be showing the world that we are just more than just your regular stereotypes. Because the simple fact of the matter is, if you do follow Black history, you find out that we've had a lot more impact on the U.S. than, well, anybody. And I stand on that. But anyway, still want to show what a great young man is doing in the world of fashion. That being said, guys, that's going to do it for this podcast. I do thank everybody that liked, that watched, that let people know this is live. I certainly appreciate it from my heart. Thank you for the comments at ATS Home Gaming. Hopefully you will come back next Wednesday. We're back at our regular time, as long as Zuckerberg doesn't fuck with us. But some shameless plugging before I do get out of here, guys. I do want to talk about APR TV or alwayspressrecord.com. Why? Because our show, How the Frack We Got Here, is seen on there, whether on their app, on their smart app, APR TV, or on their website, alwayspressrecord.com. Simply put, guys, please check them out. Check out not just my show, but other shows on there, because our content, our viewership matters very much so. Why? Because they built Tubi. Tubi is well worth over $100 million, and Tubi is owned by the same guy that owns Fox. So again, that money, along with our viewership, our patronage, really needs to go back to us, and APR TV is one of the places we can do it. Also, blurredstation.com, guys. I talked about another table that, again, our content, our viewership should be going to. If you want to see blurred content such as shows, movies, television games like shows like Issue 1, you can definitely find that here. At the same time, Blurred Station is going to be at BlurredCon in March. So again, if you have a show or you have advertisements that you would love to actually see on the Blurred Station stream for BlurredCon, if you'll actually go to the live stream portion on there, you can actually see what you can do for tier, which tiers you can select for tier 1, 2, 3, or 4. All of them have different editions depending on how much you want to pay. But if you want to have your business, your content, things of that nature to be shown on the Blurred Station tier, definitely go to blurredstation.com, select live stream, and go from there. If you want to join Blurred Station, simply go to the Join Now button, select the Blurred's Eye View Affinity membership, select my name there, Black Spartan. It is $10.99 a month to stream Blurred Station. $10.99 a month. Blurred Station can be streamed from all smart devices as well as computers. And again, guys, it is another table to where our viewership, our content, and most importantly, our dollars can go to. And finally, guys, runforoffice.org. I keep telling you guys, you want to know how Moms for Liberty did it? You want to know how these Republicans did it? You want to know how all these strange people did it? Well, they started here. Runforoffice.org can help you if you do feel the call to public service. Simply type in your address there. They go through the whole process of how you can get actually on the ballot, how you can run, and hopefully win. Now, again, they don't guarantee winnership, but again, this is the blueprint to where you can actually get elected. I have been saying this so many times, guys. The only way that we can affect change, it must be done the local level from the ground up. So whether you want to serve locally or nationally, check out runforoffice.org. It'll definitely help you, because we do need a lot more people to change what's going on in Congress, not just from the Republican side, from the Democrats too, because Democrats got some people they need to weed out as well. As for myself, guys, you can find me at How the Frack We Got Here on IG, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Like, share, subscribe. much like PBS, guys, we depend upon your support. We depend upon you sharing the word. We depend upon you for the conversations, because our job here is to inform. It is to not to educate, to inform, to push you to learn about things, because it's been too long to have folks have their head in the sand about things, and we need to be more active. If this administration hasn't proven that by now, I don't know what is. So again, guys, like, share, follow. Let me know what you think. As you can see, I talked to everybody, including ATS Home Gaming, which, again, thank you for your comments. But the last thing I'll say about how the Frack got here, guys, all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the information to allow you to make up your own mind. But we do better as society once we're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past, but making decisions now that we should have done back then, like electing electing politicians to have a chance, like electing our first black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first black woman to the Federal Board of Governors, maybe one day electing our first black woman to be the first Madam President. All great things. We don't learn from history. We are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go about our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians, but still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, how the Frack got here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please take care of yourselves and each other. Please check on your strong folks. Do something that actually brings you peace. And I promise we'll get through this. Peace.